Alright guys, my goats got out of hand and I had to beat their ass. Alright guys, I'm going to take a small break from our normally scheduled stuff. Not that there's anything normal on my channel, but we're in the process of lifting this structure that I built behind me. It's a 20-foot wide by 24-foot long roof structure that we're going to attach to the back of our old garage. So we've got some more out of weather storage. And obviously it's up in the air right now more than it was originally. It was down about, probably 32 inches off the ground. Sawhorse height, lower. And the challenge is there's about, there's probably about somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 pounds of wood, wet lumber to be lifted. These are 2x10s. The stringers are 2x6s. And then we've got some cross bracing, some blocking that are 2x4s for the sheeting. And so there's a number of things that had to be done first to make it strong enough to lift from the side or from the corners. And then I had to figure out how to lift it up in the air and move it. And so I think I'll take you off the tripod here. Bear with me. So you can get a better look at the structure. What I did is I put these here to act as a skin because there's a break right there. Same with over there. And so I'll just kind of show you some of the details. So corners are braced like so. They're also screwed in from the ends with 3.5 inch screws. And then where I'm doing the lifting, I've through bolted right here with a 1/2 inch bolt and washers. And then I've actually braced with a face hanger this joist so I can lift on it, because I think it would have tore off even with these face screws in it, these 3.5 inch screws. And so what I have is just a set of boards that are in an X pattern. You can see that one screwed in down there. And when I first lifted this thing, it folded up, meaning that if you know anything about math, we'll get down here and kind of look. The arc distance, so if this was parallel and they weren't down, that would be your radius. And when you run them down, that bolt that's screwed in right there changes, it changes distance. Where they cross changes distance. And so basically you're relying on the longer distance when it's horizontal than the distance it's screwed in at now. Well, because as something rotates up close to its radius, there's not much change in the overall side-to-side distance. In other words, this would normally be screwed in maybe there, and that would be the radius. Well, as this folds up like that, there's not much change in that location, so it's a very weak connection. So what I ended up having to do was add this piece right here, and what that does, I mean, I can't give you the geometric names, but it's the hypotenuse of this triangle. You know, it forms two 90-degree triangles. So as these two legs try to fold up, they push this member up against the bottom of this. And that's the reason now that this is very stable and holds itself in place. And I bought just one of those like ledger bolt or ledger screws at like 4.5 or let's see, 4.5 inches long to hold it all together. And then this is screwed in 6 feet out, and it's an 8-foot piece. And so as I raise this bolt keeps changing position, and that keeps getting brought back up. So the whole point of being able to lift this is I don't want to have to use a crane. And so you can see all I'm doing is taking a floor jack, and each time I get it up to height, I reposition these leg pieces here and here, and then I drop that piece of wood down and jack it back up again. So I have to do it down at the other end right now. They're sitting on sawhorses. So I'm going to go ahead and get all that stuff done, and then I'll try to do a time lapse of me lifting this end so you guys can see it from the tripod. But anyway, that's what's going on right now. You can see in the background that there's another project I'm going to do a video on here in a little while as soon as it's done. But so we're going to lift this roof structure today. Talk to you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, I'm going to do a time lapse of raising this side of the building so you guys can kind of get an idea of how I'm doing it. It weighs so much. These are old feedstock containers for cows, so I've kind of got them under there in case of a disaster if it fell. Once it gets a little higher, I'm going to get some sawhorses, but you know, if it dropped, it wouldn't be a good thing. But these cross braces are pretty strong, and I've got some secondary bracing down there, so, or secondary feet, I should say, that I just, every time I raise it up, I just drop the foot down and screw it back in. So we'll go ahead and jack this side up. Alright, so now I'm going to adjust this side here, and it'll be back up in the air, or back supported on its feet.
Who are you talking to?
Huh?
So who are you talking to? Oh, alright.
YouTube. Alrighty, I should be able to lower it down now. And it settles about, I don't know, 4 to 6 inches between squishing into the ground and just putting all the pressure up into the feet. So I probably go up 1.5 feet each time, you know, to go up 12 feet. It'll take me about 10 times each end. It's going to be 1 in 12 pitch. Once I get it up to height, I got to figure out how to slide it. Shouldn't be that hard. We'll get to that. We'll solve that problem when we get to it. So anyways, that's how you lift a big heavy structure. It's got feet that as they drop down, they form a deeper and deeper V. And then I've got a centerpiece that keeps them from collapsing, and a couple of safety side feet. And that's pretty much it, guys. So when we go to get to actually pulling this with the come along towards the building, I'll bring you guys back on and we'll kind of go over how I'm going to do that. So talk to you then. Alright guys, I don't know how much of a repeat this is going to be. I can't remember my last clip, but basically this is sort of a vlog ending to the DIY lifting of this structure up. When we got the structure up to height out here behind me, it was probably 30 or 40 feet away from the building. And what we did is my dad had some of those moving casters for cars that we got from Harbor Freight. They're just casters you put under the wheels and you can roll a car around. Well, what we did is we used junk plywood. We had like, I don't know, 3 or 4 sheets of junk plywood, and we literally would just inch this thing along. Now it weighs a lot, so you can't just pull on it and roll it up. It took us a full day to move it up to the building, but we were able to just take one sheet out from behind and stick it in the front and roll this thing forward slowly and work our way forward. We had one person up front with the front legs and 2 people in the back on the back legs, and we pushed it up until it was where we wanted it to be. And then what I did, I'm gonna get you guys, and you're on the tripod. So what we did is we made these 2x6, or yeah, 2x, are they 6s or 8s? I can't remember. I think they're 2x6. Here we go, over here. So what we did is we made these 2x6 wood posts, and I just screwed them corner to corner. I didn't have some 12-footers, so you can see there's a couple pieces there. And then we just put these diagonals in and screwed them up to the main structure right there. And same thing over here. Now in the front, those horizontals are those diagonals are gonna come out. They're too long, they block the front, so I'm gonna put shorter ones in. And then lastly, the roof was sagging pretty severely in the middle. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up putting this beam structure in right here. Hopefully this video isn't jumping like it looks on the screen here. But what we were able to do is so that beam right there is made out of, it's an actual constructed joist, meaning that the inside there are 2x4s that run at 60 degrees, forming equilateral triangles all the way down until it started to get thin down here at this end on the right hand side. And so what I did is after I got that constructed, I kept it jacked up with a 4x4 post, and we used a string line on top to make sure it wasn't sagging. In fact, we held it level, and then I jacked it up another pump or 2 to actually put a little crown in it. Then I glued and screwed these sides on, and once we made this, I'll call it a strong back, then I let the 4x4 post down, and it's stronger in the middle than it is out on the edges, and that's saying quite a bit because the edges are very strong. So we made a composite beam right there. I'm going to obviously paint all this stuff white once we get some walls on here down the road, and I got to make sure that this is exactly where I want it. Now the nice thing is this is all right now still unattached, meaning that there's some screws holding it to where I have my steel rack there, but we may move the steel rack and that may get moved in. Notwithstanding, we obviously need to paint the garage, but anyways, so I just wanted to do kind of a final wrap up on this video. Let's see if I can get you guys back down level here. So, all in all, it was a pretty easy process. Nothing was real difficult. It was pretty time consuming, but I would say if you did it full time and you weren't on and off of the project like I was, it would probably only take you a week to get it built. You and one other person, 2 people, take you a week to get it built and up and moved. It was a pretty simple process. And so we just used a floor jack and blocking, and if earlier in the video you guys will see the scissor legs set up, but that's pretty much it. We're going to get hopefully some electrical in here down the road and get some walls up for wind and whatnot. But we know this isn't going to be an actual garage structure, a permanent one for right now. So I hope this helps somebody, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit later. Bye.